so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the P-heads themselves. I am your P-head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Mytrae Meliana. Mytrae is a sound healer, women's empowerment, and divine feminine teacher, holistic psychotherapist, intuitive, and author. She was miraculously healed of Lyme disease when she visited John of God, a spiritual healer in Brazil. It turns out that was just another door that opened and led her to a whole new paradigm of healing, miracles, intuition, and what's possible for all of us on our planet. Hi, Mytrae. How's it going?
Hi, Alexa. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy that we connected, and it sounds like you have quite a story. So let's just jump in. Do you want to give us a bit of your background and how you got to this point?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. I think stories are so amazing, and yes, I do have one.
Awesome.
In 2009, I had just become licensed as a psychotherapist, and I was just excited to be doing that and, opening up to a whole new career. And the one question I somehow just kept popping into my mind was, what is healing? Like, I was asking myself, what am I doing as a psychotherapist? What is this about? And I had fortunately had a spiritual path my whole life and went to a holistic school, even for psychotherapy. So I was equipped in that way. And at the same time, I just had this powerful inner calling. It's like I would just every day just felt like I was shouting from the inside, I'm ready. Please show me what I'm to do. So there was this thing that I felt like I was just throwing out to the universe. I'm ready. I didn't even know what I was ready for, but I just kept saying, I'm ready. Please show me what's next. So as we all know, the universe answers and in ways that we're maybe not ready for. But
yes.
And my partner got a strange condition which Western medical couldn't answer or didn't have answers or treatment for. So he went to this healer in Brazil, and he had been perfectly healthy his whole life. And I had these series of dreams, just really, which felt like so out there, unlike any dreams I'd ever had. They were not dreams. They felt like visitations. They were messages, very, very profound. telling me about music, telling me about my work in the world, and telling me that I was about to go through something which would be hard, but that it was a purification and that I would come out on the other side. So there were all these, very clear, specific information. And then 6 months later, I got Lyme disease. And I don't remember being bitten by a tick. I didn't get the bullseye rash, which people can easily treat. But it was these horrific neurological symptoms, like pinpricks, like 1,000 times more powerful than when your leg goes to sleep, and just like crawling sensations under my skin. And I had been perfectly healthy and exercised and ate right my whole life. So it was this random thing that came out of the blue, and I freaked out. I was more scared than I'd ever been my whole life. And when I finally I got help from Western medicine, and I went to it through a very holistic approach, homeopathy, diet, detoxing, essential oils, and I just started using sound as well. I am trained as a classical pianist, so sound is very much how I sort of think and perceive the world. Right. So I would just tone, which is just using these long vowel sounds. And I felt like I was, in those weeks, I felt like I was being tested. Like I was up against the most difficult test I'd ever experienced. And I sought help from spiritual teachers I had, looked up to and admired. And then I also decided to just send my picture for a distance healing to the spiritual healer that my partner had been to in Brazil. And somehow, in all of that, as I was going through this, which felt like a very dark time, I literally experienced these streams of light coming towards me in my room, my home. And I felt like Shiva. And Shiva, as I come from India, Shiva is the god of destruction who literally dances the world into, both destroys but creates. And he's literally at the nexus of darkness and light. And he is that in-between energy where the darkness transforms into light, and the light and the darkness also, and light also exists in darkness. So I felt like I was right in that in-between place. So I decided somehow one day, I was just taking a shower. I was like, I gotta go to Brazil. I just have to go. Even though I'd sent my picture for distance healing, I just decided I needed to go. And everything moved like lightning after that. The visa was granted. And within 10 days, I found myself in this tiny town called Abagiania, which is in central Brazil, which looks like it's out in a beautiful place, but it's not even a town. It's a little small, very small place, and the actual town is really just one street. But this healer, this spiritual healer, who is incredible because he's a medium and he's healed, or he's worked through or worked with millions of people. He has his casa there, or home there, where he treats people. And as soon as I walked in, there were hundreds, maybe even a few thousand people there. I just felt somehow just welcomed, somehow, even though I hadn't talked to anybody, just felt like there was help here, that I would have answers, that I would get something which I knew was even bigger than my Lyme disease. So there's a whole protocol in terms of how this person, this medium, sees people. So he's really a channel. He doesn't claim to be a healer. He doesn't claim any part of this. All he says is, God heals through me. And he channels these very high-level beings of light and love who heal. So I went before him in the line like hundreds before me. And the first thing he said was, I will help you. And he just had this very warm, loving smile and asked me to sit in meditation. And I sat in the meditation room along with a few hundred other people. And I just felt all these energies come out of me. And I could feel that the work had already started. And within 2 days, my pinpricks completely stopped. And the crawling sensations I had disappeared. And I was blown away. I was like, how could this happen? Because, I'd seen Lyme doctors and they were like, one lady said, well, you might never be able to touch anybody for the rest of your life. And,
oh my God.
And the other person said, you might have to spend 3 hours in a bathtub, 4 times a week. And it was just, and suddenly it's like I didn't even do anything. I didn't even take any pill. I didn't, all I just did was sit along with other people in meditation. And this, I could have this. And then, of course, the questions are, is this going to last? And what is this? And how can this happen? And my mind was just racing. But then the following week, now that all that had happened, you can make 3 requests when you go up to see the healer. So my first request was, please help me heal my physical disease. My second request was, please heal my emotional trauma. And third was, please help me in my healing work. So my second week there, I was in prayer. It was just a regular prayer ceremony where prayers from different parts of the world are read. And I just felt this love. I have no way to describe it other than it was just this stream of love that felt like it just made a bullseye for my heart. And I was sitting in this room full of people and I just started sobbing. And I didn't have words. I couldn't speak. People just kept handing me tissue after tissue. And after it was over, I went, they have these benches outside. And I just sat there and I sobbed and sobbed. I felt like the love was an exalted love. It wasn't a human kind of love. And it just went into my heart and it went into my deepest places. And I felt like it was cradling me and holding all the parts of me that had never felt or known love before. And I felt held by something so much larger than me, and which was so profound and so gentle, yet so big. And nothing was asked of me. It was just given freely. And in that instant, I just realized, probably a belief which I'd been holding, I don't have to do anything to be loved. I'm just loved no matter what. And I think that was my emotional healing. So it was this very, very profound, powerful healing. And I forgot to mention that before going to Brazil, on my own inner work, I had been questioning, what is this disease really about for me? Because I know that there's always a deeper cause. There's always a deeper reason. I knew I had to shift something, transform something. Something in me needed to change.
Right.
And as a woman who's grown up in India, I'm originally from India, I had felt very disempowered my whole life. And in relationships and with family and just who I was in the world, I felt very small and powerless. And I knew when I did this work that all of this was for me to come into my power. And for me, as a woman, to even redefine what power was. Because at that point, I knew power, I had experienced power as somebody's more powerful than the other. I hadn't known equal power or a feminine power even. And since then, I felt like that was also being healed for me. Another thing that happened, go ahead.
No, I'm so swept up in the story. I was like taking a deep breath. Go ahead. You keep going if you have more to say.
And the other thing that, they have different spiritual treatments there. So I was, having the spiritual treatments, and I felt like as I was there, I felt the divine feminine on loudspeakers. And I don't quite know how to describe it, except that I could feel her everywhere. Like she was in every breath I took. She was surrounding me. She was in my room. It's like I was just breathing her in and breathing her out. And it was a very profound experience. And my intuition also completely opened with the healings. I was suddenly... The spirits was talking to me. They were showing me messages. They were telling me about my future work. And I was so scared with what they showed me at times that I would literally run to my room and get under my covers.
Why? What were they showing you?
They were showing me things I had never even dreamt of. They showed me standing in front of large numbers of people speaking. They were telling me that they were showing me things that I had no reference point for. Like they were teaching me how to bilocate. They were telling me I was a being of light. They were telling me that that I knew sound and music in ways that were beyond what I had known as a classical pianist, and that a lot was going to come through me. And the messages, and a lot of it, honestly, they were so, right now I can say, outlandish that I don't think that I couldn't even remember. Because they were showing me sacred geometry. They were showing me things that my mind had no way to understand. And since then, since that 2009 trip, I returned every year for a couple of years, and the healing would continue. The opening of Lyme, I continue. Of course, my body just healed a whole lot, much more, and I have no more symptoms. I've been very healthy. Within 18 months, there was nothing. And I went back to my 2 doctors, and they said, you don't need to come back anymore.
Wow.
So it was completely gone, and I've never been healthier. And emotionally, over the years, it's just been shifting, transformation after transformation, awakening after awakening, healing, so many different kinds of healing in terms of relationships with my family, opening to love and forgiveness and joy and play and sexuality in ways that I had never known. And my intuition just opening more and more and more. And it's felt like since then, I knew that this was a whole new paradigm of healing than what I'd known as a psychotherapist, and what most of us as the world knows as healing. And I was so curious. I had so many questions, and I went back every year. And one of the things they showed me, one of my questions was, please show me how I can serve. So they showed me in a movie, like in a visual film, me bringing other people dressed in white, because we wear white there, to the casa. So from 2012, I would take groups there, people who wanted healing either physically, emotionally, or just wanted spiritual growth. And it was wonderful because each time I received so many new things and learned and transformed in so many ways. And
that's funny because, sorry to interject, but that's funny because right before you said that, I was literally thinking, I was like, how can I want someone to take me there.
That's great.
But
that's so great.
But go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, and there are lots of people. They're called guides, and there are lots of people who go. I stopped taking people there a couple of years ago because my other work here is growing, but there are amazing people who go, and I'm happy to give you links and resources to connect with some of them.
Absolutely. That would be great.
Great. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt anything that you're saying, because this is something about your storytelling or your voice, or I don't know what it is like truly, I think I was just like in a trance listening to you. And I swear I was just seeing everything that you were saying as a very vivid movie, which I am like a visual. I guess I do that normally when I'm talking to people, but this felt different. This felt like more intense. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, no, so what now? You said your work has been growing here. Mm-hmm. I have questions about all of that, but so you said your work has now been in recent years. It's been growing here. So what has that work been entailing?
Yeah, so it's been growing and evolving, and I think, the messages, and I think from the spirit world, when they send us messages, they send it to us. It's like past, present, future all comes in one chunk, and I got just these downloads, which I was like, oh my god, how can I do that now? But so over the years, a lot of it has been me sort of literally acclimatizing to the possibility even that this can be. So the work that's been happening, one is me growing into my own personal work as well as what I'm creating in the world. So personally, they've been working with me to open to and the words I will use are like initiations or awakenings of who I am as the divine feminine. And they, meaning the entities or the spirits, along with, and this is really still hard for me to say, Mother Mary. I did not grow up Catholic. I grew up Hindu. So that was a whole other mind bender for me. Yeah. Like, why is she coming to me? Yeah. and I, believe me, I was very skeptical, and as like my whole sense of self-worth, I could not understand why she was coming to me, because I felt like a nobody. And, but she was incredibly persistent, fiercely.
What was she wanting from you?
Well, at first it was just, she was holding out light to me. My very first time there, she said, I am Fatima. And I didn't know who Fatima. For me, growing up in India, Fatima was a Muslim name. And I was like, who is Fatima? And it's only later. And I just felt this. For 1 year, I felt this, what my partner says, he called it a divine longing. It's like I was in love with her. And just my heart was being opened. My heart was being awakened to these higher spiritual vibrations, to this higher spiritual love. And, it's Mother Mary, but it could be Lakshmi, it could be Isis. It's awakened to the divine feminine, both outside as well as within myself. And she has since shown me my inner divine feminine, and each time I see it, I'm astounded, because those images were so different from how I perceived myself.
How so? What are you? Because
so, for example,
yeah, go ahead.
So, for example, one of the images is me as the only way I can describe it is like a crystalline being. You might have seen some of these mystical pictures online where they're, with the colors and just the quality is of such a high vibration. And me just with these, just literally, my body is crystalline and has these different colors. Another image of me was, and you've seen these images and probably sculptures of tantric goddesses.
Yes.
So one was of me, just this incredibly luscious, playful, sexual, feminine energy where I was making love with everything. And
Yes.
and it wasn't a man, it wasn't a person, it wasn't what, it was with the world, with the cosmos, with life. And that to me was so beautiful, because I think that is real sexuality. We think of it in such limited ways, but as Tantra says, or, sexuality is just this incredible energy that we do make love. And we can make love with everything. And that is part of our oneness. And, we talk about love as a spiritual love, but it is also this very sexual energy, or Shakti. And so these are some of the images which, when were shown to me, I, as you can imagine, initially feeling like this very powerless, small nobody, I couldn't quite put the two together.
Yeah. And so have you opened up to it since then, or?
I have. And, because the images were shown so repeatedly, and the messages too, and slowly over time, my own intuition and connection with her and with my guides and other beings has opened up. And in terms of channeling, just receiving the messages and receiving them not just from me. So that was the initial preparation, but that these messages are to be shared with others, other women.
Yes.
And that, I think, is a spiritual trajectory, that we are initially prepared as vessels for our own healing, our own awakening. And then what we receive, we then bring and offer to others who are ready to hear.
It's so funny how everything just fits together so perfectly. Like every single thing that you're talking about is something that came through my mind earlier today. I mean, each little topic is even just what you were saying about, I got this image today of, it's like that we, as part of the collective, like there's a part of the collective that's stretching and growing, right? And they're receiving and they're changing. And then there's another part of the collective that is maybe, holding back or stuck in a loop or, kind of in a stagnant sort of place. And it's like I just got this cool image of how like there's a section of us that are all kind of stretching and growing, and then we're coming back and kind of communicating what this elevated vibration, this elevated understanding, kind of letting it trickle down to the rest of the people. And then as one, we all kind of move forward. It's kind of like that. I don't know. I just got this cool image of how it all kind of works together. And what you said just reminds me of that so much. And it's so
Exactly.
cool.
Exactly. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, can you talk a little bit about, or are there specific messages or anything significant that, you think this collective should know about? Anything that you've received recently that you think would be important for the Positive Head community to know?
Well, there's so many. A lot of the messages, they're in a few different areas. One is about healing.
Yes.
That healing can be of a different paradigm than how we know it to be. And I think the Positive Head is so great, community is so great, because this community knows that there's so much more than what we just see and, taste and touch. The world of the unseen has so much to offer. And spiritual healing, I still think a lot of people feel like they have to do it themselves, or that we have to do it as human beings. And what I got from my healing experience in Brazil is that there are spirits and beings who are just so eager and loving and wanting to one, not only heal us, but partner with us in bringing these new vibrations, bringing these new energies, bringing new technologies, which are well known on the other side and in other dimensions, into our planet. Because we can't just do things on the level of matter anymore. We need to do them on the level of energy, quantum ways, and soul ways, which are like superpowers, and what we call superpowers, or the super conscious, or things we can't even imagine anymore. So that is one.
Yeah. Well, and I have a question. I have a question about that. So, because yes, absolutely, and I'm 100% with you. And it's like, I am someone. I'm just going to use myself as an example. I think I've always been highly intuitive in certain ways, but I've never, there's a section of people in this specific community that are very you're one of them, but are communicating with spirits regularly, are communicating with, the non-physical, and are actually having a strong connection with their guides, with everything like that. I'm someone who it's like, I can tell now that certain things come from, maybe guides, or certain things come through me from non-physical, but I'm not like in an open place yet where I'm like, I'm having an open communication. So for, for people who are listening to this, who are like, yes, I want to connect with these spirits or these beings who want to help, who want to partner, who want to bring through these messages. What is the process to open up to that? Because, a big part of your healing, like you said, was opening, to this. Mm-hmm. So before that happened, were you having these communications? Is this something that literally just got turned on like a light switch? And sorry, there's several questions in here, but you get what I'm saying. It's like, for people who don't feel connected in that way, what are the steps you think?
Yeah. And so I will answer in different sections too. Okay. I think I've always been intuitive. I grew up in India, and as a child, I literally remember being able to hear the trees sing to me. And I love that. And I was very close to nature. I grew up in a place where there's a lot of nature, and I experienced a oneness with nature that is only growing today. So that was there. And as a musician, as a pianist, I was always open to sound. So, in that sense, my creative, intuitive side, my right brain was very active. I'm also and have been for periods, very intellectual, but I think I have this side too. Even before John of God, I was very intuitive. I had a period where I was working with the goddess Kali for about 3 years. So I've had that for myself. So but I think what happened here was it just got intensified. It was just like, you might think it's imagination, but we're just going to blow it open. And, it's not going to, can't even hold it as imagination anymore.
Yeah.
So that was for me. So for someone who's wanting to open to their intuition, I think first that's so great and so lovely that you want to, and I'm sure that there are others who want to open more. First of all, we're all intuitive. Everybody has the capacity and potential to experience what I or other intuitives experience. It's just a question of timeline. And if someone hasn't or doesn't know how, the first, I think, as you just said, is your intention. Just saying, I want this, your desire. I really want this. I want to know what's beyond what I can see, taste, touch, and smell. And I want a connection with my guides. I want a connection with the spirit world, with good beings who are going to help me and guide me and heal and help me heal. So one is to first put out your own intention to yourself. And when you do that, you are automatically communicating because they can hear you and they're always with you. Every one of us has guides. Every one of us has guides. And even if you just think it, they will hear you. And even if you just say it out loud or whisper it even, it's heard. Everything, every one of your thoughts and whispers and desires is heard. So that would be the first step. And then I think the next thing would be just to really open to a place of love for yourself, and appreciation and gratitude, and allow yourself to open to a positive, these higher vibrational emotions of gratitude, love, appreciation, compassion for yourself, for others, and the world. Because when we're in these higher vibrational emotions, it's easier for them to contact you and reach you. Just like, like you said, when you were sitting this morning and you had all these images come, you were probably in a place where you're receptive. So the idea being to cultivate periods and times when you are receptive. And artists and, people who meditate and people who are on this path have more openness and opportunities to this, but everybody can do this. And it will come in different ways. Oftentimes it will come like the thought is your own. And, we can think, I wish it should sound like a voice in my head or like a voice in the room. And no. Sometimes it can be so subtle, like, there's an idea. And we often think our ideas are ours, and they might well be, but it also could be from a guide. Yeah. So it's just allowing ourselves to open to these states of inspiration. And I think prayer.
Yeah, because prayer is basically another form of intention, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
And when you pray, you're surrendering. You're asking for something that you don't know, and you don't know how it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like if you're sick, it's like, please help me heal, and you have no idea how it's going to happen. Or please help me do this thing, or open to this. And that vulnerable, open-hearted asking is an invitation to your guides, to others, to work with you.
I love that. That's awesome advice. That will definitely be helpful to many. And that all resonates very strongly with me. So thank you for that. And
you're welcome.
And I have a question going back to John of God, but I wasn't sure if you were about to share another message, or do you want to save that until after this question? Sorry, there's so much I feel like I'm jumping all over the place. I don't really do this, but I just have so much I want to talk to you about.
That's fine. I can jump right with you. Go ahead and ask me the next question.
So I was just, when you were talking about John of God and your experience, and before going to John of God, when you were having the dreams and you were felt like you were being visited in your dreams, and you were getting these very clear messages about that something was coming for you, that it was going to be I think you said it was going to be difficult, but it was going to be a purifying process. And that ended up being the Lyme disease. Do you believe that came because you had been asking so strongly to know more of what you didn't know, as you mentioned in the beginning of the story, and that was the path of least resistance? Do you think that, why do you think Lyme disease? Like, why that? Because I'm sure some people listening are like, well, am I gonna get some medical condition so that I can know more? Is that the path? Do you know what I mean? What's your perspective on why that happened to you?
I have no idea. I think there's so much that's unexplainable. And, I only have my ideas in my human form. But as far as a larger why, I can only guess. So I'm just going to take a wild guess. I don't know. Why was it Lyme disease? I mean, on a physical level, probably years ago, I was bit by a tick and it all just sort of activated. One. On an emotional level, it triggered my most primal fears. And I've had experienced trauma, and coming at life as an Indian woman, there's a lot of oppression and fear, and I feel like that was all brought up to be healed. So I can explain those levels, the physical and the emotional, and that kind of makes sense. Like all of it, that this was brought up to be healed. What I did do as part of my process was I went through I did some drawings to have a conversation with Lyme, like, why are you here in my life, and why are you showing up now? And I drew Lyme, and I drew myself, and Lyme showed up as this giant spider that was about to swallow me whole, and I showed up as this bent, hunched, powerless woman. So that's how I knew, on a deeper spiritual soul level, because I do believe that, well, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, Lyme disease came in for me to ask these super deep questions and to make shifts on levels that I wasn't even ready, I didn't even know how to touch. So I knew I had to heal my power as a woman. And I knew that once I even began that journey and started, that the Lyme would leave. And that's exactly what happened.
Is it, what you're illustrating, and what I'm hearing you say is, that sometimes we need great contrast. We need some sort of great challenge to make us focus into the higher realms of what we're wanting to be, of what we're wanting to see, of what we're wanting to live, right? Because without these things that make us stop and ask the questions, or stop and focus, or stop and slow down and say, what's going on here? We wouldn't ask the questions. We wouldn't ask those questions. We just keep going on like life is fine, right?
Right.
And so it's really inspiring to hear this story, because I think it helps illustrate, and hopefully it helps illustrate this for me, and hopefully for the listeners as well, because I know there's some of you that are probably going through some sort of health challenge right now. I did at the beginning of my spiritual journey. I had my whole left side of my face blow up and close off my airway. I had to go to the emergency room 2 times in a few weeks until I figured out that. But it's great looking back. It's great because it stopped me in my tracks. It made me ask questions, and now it changed my whole course of life. And now I'm here doing this, So it's great because I think it really illustrates that nothing that happens is because you're wrong or bad, or you got dealt a bad hand at life or anything like that. It's like, if you look at it like, this is actually helping you get where you want to go, because it's helping you ask the questions you need to ask in order to get where you need to go, where you're wanting to go, then it releases the charge on whatever it is, because whatever it is simply a manifestation of our consciousness, right? So it's great. Like it just makes me feel understand so much more that everything has a purpose, that nothing is random, nothing is, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I definitely agree. And yes, nothing is random. And I think on some level, as I was, probably overtly asking, please show me what's next, I'm ready. I think a lot of us are probably asking that, whether we're conscious of it or not. That on a soul level, humanity are waking up, and our souls are waking us up, whether we're not ready or not from our, personality perspective, that there's we are all being shaken up, woken up, like somebody literally comes to you and shakes you awake, that kind of a thing. And it may be a health challenge for some. It may be a relationship or emotional challenge for some. Or it may just be, a blossoming of a gift from where there wasn't one before. It can come in beautiful ways too. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be in that way. But I think for a lot of us, self included, that I would have gone for many more years not asking those questions.
Yeah.
If I hadn't had a health challenge, and it helped me move quicker. So I really have seen and do believe for me that it was a teacher and it was a gift.
Yeah.
It took me from one place to another.
Absolutely. It's just it's a permission slip, like Bashar says. Bashar, I don't know if you follow him, but I've been realizing recently, or I've kind of been having this, I don't know if I received this or whatever. I realized this, that everything is a permission slip. Every single thing in our life is a permission slip to get to the next thing. Everything, whether it's a health crisis, we create these situations for ourselves in order to grow. So really there's nothing that we can't, utilize in that way. There's nothing, if we choose to, if we choose to see it as, why did this happen to me? Why? Then it's going to beat us up for a while, right. But really everything is a permission slip trying to help us get clearer on what we want or move forward in the ways that we're wanting to. So, And what is your, what is your perspective on the power of John of God and his healing? Because another thing that was coming to me while you were explaining that sort of experience and process was, again, this is all just tying into my day to day. I don't know why, but this morning as I was walking somewhere, I was really happy, and I was just walking through the streets, and I would lock eyes with someone because I really try to focus on where I am when I'm walking. I try not to be in my phone or anything, and I kind of make it a practice to try to connect with people and smile at people and say hi to people, and I got this knowing today while I was walking, and I was doing that because I would see people who seemed kind of down, or they had a grumpy look on their face, and then I'd lock eyes with them and I'd smile at them, and suddenly their whole face would light up, and it was something changed in them. And I had this realization pop into my head that was just by knowing that well-being is abundant, when you know it, and in that moment, I knew it. That's what was going through my head. Well-being is abundant. No matter what's going on here, well-being is abundant. So when you know that, you align with that. And when you align with it, you realize it fully in your experience, meaning you manifest that, right? And in a way, you're healing people because you know it. You know everyone's well-being. So just being in that knowing as one human, that is how you can affect other people. And so when you were talking about John of God and how nothing necessarily was really happening, or I think that's what you're saying, he was just kind of being, is that what it is? Is that he's in a knowing, he's in a knowing of well-being, and that opens up the possibilities for you? Or I love, first of all, what you're doing as you walk on the streets. I think that's so great. Each one of us, whatever we align with, we are creating that, and we're creating more of that in the world. And as you, just to take your example, as you do that, you're sharing that energy with the people you connect with, and even don't connect with, who may not be able to receive. But you're holding that vibration and that frequency of that wonderful thought that well-being is abundant. And that's what we're all in process of, is rising, changing, and upgrading our vibration. Now, John of God is a medium. And in Brazil, they have a tradition called the Spiritist tradition, where they use spirituality right alongside medicine and psychology. In fact, they have, in their healing centers, they have 3 departments. They have the physical, they have the emotional or mental health, and then they have the spiritual.
And in the spiritual, it's all across Brazil. John of God happens to be a very powerful medium, but they have spiritist centers where people come together who are mediums to work on challenges or help people with the challenges they're going through on a spiritual level. And they partner with spirits on the other side who come in specifically to provide answers, heal, and even remove attachments. So it's a spiritual science. It deals with the paranormal, and it's about parapsychology, which is very advanced in Brazil. So they're very comfortable with partnering with spirit to heal.
Okay, I understand now. Right. So it's more like psychic surgery. Is that what it's like? Psychic surgery?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Wow, that's really interesting. That's great. Yeah, I've heard of John of God before several times. I just haven't actually understood exactly what was going on there, but that's really interesting. Okay, well, so wow, I can't believe we're almost at an hour. You have about 10 minutes left. First of all, I wanted to ask before I forget, where can people get in contact with you and is there a way that you're working with people specifically, or do you have some sort of a website, or how can people just connect with you and see what you're doing?
Yeah. So I have a website, and it's my name. So mytrae.com, mytrae.com. And they can definitely connect with me there. And if they want to work with me, I work with people either in person or online. I have two areas of work. One is helping women become empowered and connect with their divine feminine self, and soul purpose coaching. And the other way I work is sound healing. I've just started the Temple of Sound Healing, where I'm using sound healing to work with people on any level, whether it's trauma or illness or awakening or activation of their spirituality. And also I'm offering trainings and workshops for people to learn how to work with sound.
That's amazing.
So people are very welcome to reach out to me. I'm also offering a Lyme support group. So if people have illness, to really discover the root cause and work on healing that.
Oh, that all sounds amazing, super valuable, and super will absolutely resonate with this group for sure. So everybody go check out her website. And what I wanted to end with was, do you want to share another message maybe, or whatever you feel is most relevant for the group before we sign off here?
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out this book that I've been writing all my messages, which I think will one day become a book.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is one on. So I ask her a question, and then she gives me an answer.
Great.
This is Mary.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. So my question is, dearest Mary, is there anything you can share about a woman coming into her power? Please show me how a woman can connect with and step into her sacred power. So this is her answer. A woman must shed many stories, ideas, beliefs, and conditioning of what she has been fed through the ages. She must pick up each one like a needle, a jewel, a crystal, to see and examine whether it is still her truth, whether she wants it to be her truth. It doesn't matter who has spoken the words, the authority, religion, or teacher it has come from, her family, her mother, her father, her ancestors, or her culture. Her real truth of who she is, her divine feminine nature, might well be very different. It takes great courage. It takes great light to see through the mirage of what she has been told about her truth, her power. Every woman is sacred, no less sacred than God, Goddess, or me. But she must want to know herself in this way, not the way of the ego, of false masculine power, as it can so often happen or shape itself as, but as her sacred, divine feminine power. As you have just seen yourself as the bejeweled cloak you wear, as the divine feminine Christ. And be not afraid of these words, of writing these words for what others may think of you or of how they will receive them. For the truth of who you are, of who every woman is so, and no less than. Humanity has for eons been conditioned to believe they are separate from God, but that could be no further from the truth. You are holy, most holy, and you must come to know yourself as so, as if you are to survive the next phase of what you are going through, which is ascension. A woman must be both fierce and gentle to come into her power. Fierce to look at with unblinking sharpness of the truth she's been told about herself. Fierce to question, challenge, pierce through any falsity. Fierce to seek and change them within herself. For the old ways don't hold anymore, as you are seeing in your own life. A woman's power is not given to her by another, by her family, culture, or a man. A woman's power is the divine feminine within her. She must be patient, persistent, and again, fierce to cut through her own inner beliefs, sift through them like grain through a sieve, and question each one.
Wow. I closed my eyes for that and like fully received that. And that was wonderful. That was so, I felt like she was speaking right to me. That was beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I hope you make this into a book because I will buy it.
I will.
Okay, great. Let me know about that. Mytrae, this has been absolutely amazing, inspiring. You are such an eloquent speaker. Your voice, there's something magical about it. I don't know what's going on here, but I love all of it. So thank you so much for reaching out and wanting to be a part of this and sharing with us. And hopefully we can do this again because I feel like there's a lot more that you could shed some light on, a lot more insight from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been so delightful to be with you. Thank you for receiving. It's been such a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, as Brandon always says, journey well.
You too. You too.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.